get all your key leaders around a table, or even just do it yourself, and ask yourself a very, very important question, and that is, what do you want to be famous for?
What do you want to be famous for?
What do you want the restaurant to be famous for? And every single decision you make should be targeted at the answer to that question.
Hello, TK.
Peter, how are you, mate?
I'm marvellous. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
It's nice to hear the sounds of a bustling restaurant behind us. I think we can hear it maybe better than the people who are watching and listening can, but it is quite the bustling restaurant here.
Every time you hear something go clank, you can see them. They all look over here.
Yeah, they should be. We were sort of throwing some comments that maybe they need to shut up a little bit, but it is a kitchen. They should need to do their job. And they're clapping. I'm pretty sure that's not for us, though, is it? Right, we've got a bit of a mixed bag today.
Can't wait.
I think we're going to start with a couple of questions I think that might lead us into something else.
Because I must say, we've had a bunch of questions come through, and it's really cool to see them come through.
Yeah.
And I get such a buzz out of answering them. So
yeah.
If anybody out there has got any questions, please shoot them through.
Reach out, absolutely. So email, Corey will put in somewhere on the website. Go to behindpodcast.com.au and there's some emails there and we'll get to them at some point.
I got a fantastic email from a gentleman in Lapland.
Sorry. Just
Lapland.
One more time for those playing at home. Lapland,
Yes.
So Santa emailed you.
Basically, Santa's North Pole. I couldn't believe it because I got good friends up there that went up there for Christmas. I didn't
that's
even know
right.
where Lapland was.
Yeah. It's
And-
basically, it's the top of the earth, right?
Yeah,
It's
pretty much. Yeah,
okay.
Pretty fucking cold up there.
Yeah.
I had a look at. I'll give him a shout out later, but it's a fantastic restaurant.
Oh,
So
really?
Kudos to
nice.
all the men and women in our industry up in Lapland listening to us.
Cheers to Lapland.
Never have thought.
However we say cheers in Laplandish. What language do they speak in Lapland?
Is it Swedish? Oh, I don't know. Asking the wrong dude. Corey,
Can you do some research on that, Corey, while we're just going through?
what do you got for us today, Pete?
Wait, there was one question. This is actually from a little while ago. Sam reached out via LinkedIn to ask a couple of questions. One was he was interested to hear both our thoughts about wines made in Queensland. So grapes grown in Queensland, wines made here. I'll let you go first, and then because I feel like we're going to have maybe two different answers to this question. So you go.
I have a really good friend of mine who has got a saying about Queensland wines.
Go ahead.
Have you ever seen a pineapple getting grown in the Barossa Valley?
No, I haven't. However,
shout out to Matt Evans.
I also haven't seen Shiraz growing in the Antarctic. So I mean,
I was going to say it's unreasonable because
Right.
I've tried some decent stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? I really enjoy some Queensland Vidello.
yeah.
I think it's quite good, but
Wow.
never thought.
There's the person.
Even
There we go. Queensland wine industry. There's the guy that
3
does
bottles
it.
a year that you sell.
Yeah, look,
There you go.
Vidello, if we're going to hang our head on a variety, that's probably not the one, I wouldn't imagine. But
You've been a pretty big advocate for Queensland, right?
yeah, I was pretty hard early on. Like, I tasted a lot of wine many years ago, particularly when a lot of people were coming to market, you know, brands being established. And I remember doing, I went into, where was that? It's the Queensland Eco Sciences Precinct at Dutton Park, and DPI, or what I think they were called DD at that point in time, basically they had a few people come in and sort of talk to a lot of these producers about how to get them into market. Like, what do someone like in my position as a buyer in a restaurant, what am I looking for from these wines? And believe it or not, it was actually quite there was a lot of people that didn't really understand how to do it.
Yep.
The wines were fine, sound at that point in time. Some of them were pretty good. But they didn't know what to do next.
Right.
And so basic things like you'd call an order and then it wouldn't arrive for 2 weeks. They're like, oh, sorry, I just haven't got to the post box yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was very, very country still. And I think that was that held them back for a long period of time, I think. And then finally, you know, maybe some generational change as well, some young blood, particularly in the Granite Belt, has certainly helped in driving some great quality products coming out of there. Some interesting varieties, you know, looking at the Mediterranean varieties.
Haven't they made a fist of that drive market out there, like local tourism? Geez, they've done a good job.
Yeah,
and it is beautiful to go out there, especially in winter, and have a look around.
100%. I had that conversation with someone this week. They're like, oh, when should we go? And I was like, winter, you know, because then you get the full experience because it's freezing.
Fucking cold.
People don't realise that the altitude of the Granite Belt's, you know, most vineyards are around 800-ish sort of metres above sea level, which We talk about the Adelaide Hills. Often they'll reference being a sort of cooler climate, higher altitude. They're at 400-ish, so it's a big difference. Orange, same thing in New South Wales. Looking at
Stanthorpe snowed last year.
yeah, it snows there way more than you think it would, but it still gets bloody hot in summer. So anyway, so yeah, look, I have seen a lot of it over time. The increase in, I suppose, the knowledge of just time, experience, new blood coming into the region as well has had a massive influence, I think. And then those more classic producers trying new things, not just sticking with just the cellar door market. I do remember having a conversation with a winemaker out there many years ago, and he sort of said, well, wholesaling is a discount route for us because they get full tote when they sell it at cellar door. But if they're selling through a distributor, they've got to give away margin there. Sure. So, it's one of those things where it wasn't really a big part of their strategy. And I was like, well, how do you plan on building brand outside of cellar door sales? Yeah. And he's like, what do you mean? And it was just that conversation was...
And surely cellar door sales must be small.
No, huge for them.
Is it?
For them.
I'm talking about generally in the wine game.
No, it depends on the region.
Right.
Like those really popular, as in touristy regions like Barossa, you mentioned Hunter in particular. Hunter wineries, being an hour and a half from Sydney or not even now, like it's a massive thing because people can go up for the day.
It's beautiful down there.
Go up for the weekend, whatever it may be. But even here, like it's a 3.5 hour drive from Brisbane to get to Stanthorpe, or Ballandine, where it's similar to, it'd be like being in Perth and going to Margaret River. Yeah. Everyone thinks of WA wine. It's like, it's just that you just get off the plane and you're there. It's like, no, you don't.
No,
you got to get off and just go straight for 3 hours south.
Yeah.
And then things start happening. So. But yeah, there's some great producers out there. Ridgemill for me is always super consistent.
Yeah.
Golden Grove, I love those guys. What Ray's doing out there, he's done some amazing things with things like Vermentino. Love his Tempranillo as well. Love that wine a lot. Who else? The guys at Bent Road and Le Petit Moore doing really interesting wines. Ballandine Estate, just super consistent. There is some really good things out there. Yeah. And Ridgemill's got this one little row. I think it might be 2 rows of Riesling, which doesn't make any sense at all, but it's bloody delicious.
Yeah, right.
So seek that one out. But yeah, there is some stuff out there that's worth going.
I always encourage people just to get out there and have a go, because everybody's taste is different. What I consider to be great or you consider to be great doesn't necessarily mean it's great.
And that's the thing. It's like we're not going out there necessarily and judging. We're just going out there to have a bit of fun.
Yeah,
So I think that's the sort of key thing for me. So.
And the best thing about it is you're not going to be paying 80, 90, $100 a bottle, right?
You might be, depending on what it is. But generally speaking, the values might still be there. I think one of the challenges is they often, like some of the early producers went a bit hard too early on price, and that was the comparison. People were saying, well, I can get Barossa Shiraz, which is bankable every single day of the week, for $12, $15, whatever it is. Here, I come here and it's 20 and I'm not really sure. So they're going to stick with what they know. A lot of the time, most people do. So, But good question, Sam.
Yeah.
Second question that Sam asked us is for you. As a business owner, how did you find the process of managing a social media sensation in your kitchen? Obviously, the reference there is to Dobbers. Yeah, absolutely. So,
mate, it was probably really foreign to me.
Yep.
And Dobbers is a fantastic chef. Still is, man. Kudos to him. If you don't follow him, jump out there and have a look because he does some cool stuff. But I guess from us, we dragged him along kicking and screaming to all the social media at the start, but just like nearly every chef that we know in our group anyway, that they're under such strict time restraints to get themselves prepped up, ready to go for lunch, and then the same thing for dinner, to try and find room to film a video, it became really challenging. So Dobber's sensation on the internet started with a GoPro hanging around his neck.
Strapped to his chest.
Or actually it was his phone, and he bent a coat hanger.
I was going to say he would have jerry-rigged something. Yeah.
And, what he found very, very quickly was the fact that people really wanted to feel as though they were cooking. So that point of view style cooking, it was, I say it's overnight success, mate. His social media grew so quick.
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke to Andy Herden, and I mean, he was fast, but Dobbers was like, my God.
Yeah.
Like it felt like an overnight success.
And what are you doing while that's all happening?
Well, I mean, we're trying to manage it and mitigate it, but it's hard because when you're getting paid as a leader in a restaurant,
right,
you've got obligations.
There's responsibilities there.
So it got to the stage with Dobbers where, he needed to make a decision on what path he was going to go. And I was encouraging of him to get out there and have a crack, because there's some people who enjoy that social media stuff and can make a great living out of it. So I'm like, hey, there's people out there that will have a go at this 15, 20 times and not be successful.
Yeah.
You're successful now.
Yeah.
So my advice was for him to double down and have a go at it.
To lean in.
Yeah. And I just don't know how, if you're an employee in a restaurant, how you can successfully carve them up, because it's kind of one thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, they're related, right?
yeah, it kind of is. I mean, there's no doubt about it, mate. He was extremely popular.
Yeah.
Like, we had people from all over the world coming in here, sitting at the bar, wanting his autograph.
And that's the thing. If he's not here, then is it then a reflection of the restaurant? Oh, we felt bad. Dobbers wasn't there. It wasn't as good.
Yeah, look, we didn't really see too much of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And people frequently ask me, where's Dobbers, how's he going? And he's doing really well, and he's moved to Sydney as far as I know, and he's just had a second baby.
Yeah, right.
Everything's peachy for him. But I guess from a business's perspective, my advice is, if you've got a person in your business, being a wine guy, a restaurant guy, front of house, back of house guy, and they start to see some of that success.
Yeah.
I think you really need to sit down and go early on.
Yeah.
Just set some guidelines in place. That's
Sure.
all.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you've got a job to do and you get paid to do it.
Yeah. That should be the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my advice to anyone, and not too many people want to do this, but is take a haircut from your pay, work 3 days a week, and do both. You can still be the head chef.
Yeah.
If you want to go down the boat.
And I suppose the thing is, as well, if you can monetize the other side, then that's.
But most people want the cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
So that's hard.
That's not abnormal, right? So,
No, and when you're starting off, and anyone can attest to this, the money's not there.
Yeah.
Straight from the get-go.
Yeah, it's funny. I have people asking me about this podcast as well. They're like, "Oh, you guys making money on it?" It's like, "Are you joking?"
We may not ever.
Yeah,
make
exactly.
any money on it.
But I think that it's also, you've got to get to it. There's a critical mass as well. And so I don't know. We're still working out as we go, I suppose, as well. And you can speak to other people that have sort of done it, but it's like, at what point does it kick in? But certainly, it's not the driver. I think certainly for either of us, anyway.
And I'm probably the same as you. That and Corey, definitely, that our most valuable thing is our time.
Yeah.
But what I get out of doing a podcast is getting to speak to really cool people.
Yeah.
And speaking about relevant things that hopefully can change and make our industry better.
Yeah,
which,
absolutely.
That's the only reason why I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Did I answer that question? I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah. I mean, I think the answer is it's tough.
It is hard.
Set some parameters, and I suppose it is. What I find really interesting about is that idea again, that the chef and the restaurant, regardless if they're the same ownership, they're inextricably linked.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of can't have one without the other. So it's like, well, what's paying the bills?
And it's kind of like employing a guy who might be a golf pro or wants to be a golf pro.
Yeah.
Something's got to come first
At some point in time.
Now, your pay is going to be reflective of that.
Yeah.
So if you're a leader and you're a manager, your first job is to lead and manage.
And like we had stuff like here, like musicians, for example, where it's like, okay, so you're a musician, but you want to, and at some point in time, again, people will have to make that decision. Am I going to go into this, or am I going to be a part-time musician and a part-time waiter, somm, whatever it may be? So
correct.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do then, that's going to lead us into, I want to talk about sort of.
So can I interrupt? It just reminded me, Chris, our wine store manager at Boccarina.
Yeah.
So he takes 6 or 8 weeks off every year to go and make wine.
Do vintage,
So he realised, now he's an ex-restaurateur himself. He had a very successful business.
He's a chef, isn't he? He's a qualified chef as well,
Very, very good cook. But he does such a terrific job managing that bottle shop. He took the job and he told us straight up that he's a mad winey, and he's trying to educate himself into wine making, and he wants to go to Polperro every year and do vintage.
Yeah.
And if we want him, then we need to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So we just plan it.
Yeah.
It's a perfect relationship.
And I think then also shout out to Polperro and the guys down at Morningston, because that's a fantastic winery to learn lots of stuff. Sounds incredible. So those wines are looking really good at the moment as well.
I just can't drink them.
Why?
Because I just have this picture of Chris and his
foot.
manky feet in the wine. And they probably don't.
I was going to say, I don't know if they're doing Pijage, but either way.
He said it to me once, tongue in cheek.
Oh, right. it's in there.
Fucking mess with me.
Yeah, look, I reckon there's anyway, there's probably several wines that my feet have been in that I probably don't need to tell anyone about, but I'm pretty sure that'll be released now and be drunk. But
my point is that it's a perfect relationship.
Yeah.
We know very well from this time to this time. He uses some of his annual leave, but he goes down there and gets paid unpaid annual leave, and he loves it.
And I think the thing with that is that it's part of, it's him. It's important for him, and you recognise that. So it's like, hey, how do we make that work? The next step from that is, obviously him managing from his own point of view in terms of money and everything else, but it's also what happens in the shop at that time. So it's like put it back on. It's like, okay, it's your responsibility before you go to make sure that everything's tickety-boo. Obviously with the support of Damo and everyone else.
He got a plan together and pitched it to Damo, and we signed off on it.
Bingo, yeah.
We know every year that on that period he's down there.
And I think I would certainly encourage anyone that has something like that in their mind is to, if you're worried about an employer's reaction, ask.
Yeah, just be open.
Just float it and go, hey, just an idea. I'm not saying I want to do this, but this is something I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Would you be open to if I presented this in a way? And it's like anything else, it's delivery.
Yep.
Choose the way you deliver it and when you deliver it.
It's like Wasset, Wasset.
Yeah.
When we have a staff member that comes to us and says, I want to do that course, 1 or 2, well, I want to pay.
Yeah.
Because we get to reap the rewards of that.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, for us, if we can invest a small amount of money
Yeah.
in the staff's education, when they're out on the restaurant floor, they're going to be better at their job.
Yeah.
So for us, it's a win-win.
Absolutely, and we've had that conversation recently at work as well about training, and that's something with Wesset or CMS or whichever pathway from a wine perspective people are going to take. And yeah, there is an investment from the business, and it's like it's one of those things. Like, is it a cost of doing business? Kind of, but it's that just reminds me always of that Richard Branson saying. It's like, what if you train up a staff member and they leave, and it's like, what if you don't train them and they stay?
Exactly.
It's like how much damage can be done. So big part of it, but definitely, I like that idea of having that conversation with someone, setting parameters. This is what I want. This is how I'm going to do it. This is how we're going to help each other to get there. So,
and you can't always rely on the staff trying to be up front, because it is tough. We've all been in that situation, having a chat with either the owner of the business or your manager. There's nothing to be scared of.
No. I think also the thing for me is, again, how you phrase it. Never say, can we have a chat? Because that says to me you're going.
Or, any chance you got 5 minutes tomorrow?
You got 5 minutes for a chat later on today. It's like, anyway, it does happen. We've had that conversation.
Fucker. Yep.
Anyway, right, moving on. So I think one of the things that Corey brought up, which part of his role now is doing all of our work.
Everything.
apart from this bit, he does all the hard stuff. But one of the things we were talking about was marketing, branding, and positioning.
Yeah.
Which was a big thing, I suppose. And definitely probably more so in your realm. I'll probably chime in when I think of anything potentially semi-intelligent to say. But marketing, I suppose, it is this big all-encompassing umbrella, and there's lots of stuff that sits underneath that umbrella. Can we talk specifically about traditional marketing versus digital?
What do you call traditional?
So traditional for me is things like
advertising,
newspaper, radio, TV, potentially, letterbox drops, fun things like that, that probably haven't happened for 1,000 years, but that kind of traditional media. Using your, I suppose, the model that you have or your business right now, how much are you doing in traditional media?
0.
Donut. Okay.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say complete donut, because just before Christmas we did a letterbox drop over at Boca.
Oh, there we go.
But our restaurant lives directly underneath.
You're underneath
250
residential building,
which is new.
Yeah.
So we put vouchers in everybody's letterbox and said, "Come down, Merry Christmas."
Yeah.
So
just of your building, or did you pepper the others?
No,
as
the
well?
others just within walking distance.
Yeah.
But for us, the cheapest form of marketing for us is to give our product away.
Yeah.
If you've got good product, you get the best cut through by giving it away. But if you're less than fantastic, you'll hurt your business.
So it's like the double-edged sword. It's like, oh, come on in, we're going to look after you, and then you don't, and you're like, well,
and
we've just ruined it.
We don't discount market.
Yeah.
So you can argue the point that giving somebody a free pizza is discount marketing, but I'm calling it giving it away, because I will never see a 2-for-1 or a 20% off or a.
So someone can literally walk in, have a free. There's no conditions on it. I can come in, get a pizza, walk out.
Yeah. we'll get the card off you. And
That's
we
it, we're
started every single business with it.
Yeah.
Every single business.
Yeah.
With a free something or other.
Okay.
Now it was a bit harder with Boca because there was no apartments opened before we opened it. So once the apartments started filling up, it was just a bit of a welcome gift for us.
Yeah.
And even the developers who built the apartments, we gave them a voucher
Yeah.
to give to all their tenants as a welcome
Yeah. Okay.
impact, because we want to be firmly cemented in that local community.
Yeah.
So I guess it's probably too quick to fire off zero, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm a bit of a stickler for the news. I wish I wasn't, and I do watch the local news, which I don't. I'm the only human being in my inner circle.
What do you mean by
knows.
that? Like on
7 local news, you know.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
Is there really?
Yeah, 100%. That's what Rosanna, our mayor, was. She was a weather girl on it. So
Yeah, right.
it's I watch.
I did not
If
know
I'm
that.
at home at 6 o'clock, I'll watch the local news, which runs for half an hour, which is all Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
And then I'll watch the national news, which starts at 6:30 and runs till 7.
Is Sunshine Coast like, I saw a snake today? It was a terrifying thing, or is it like,
Sometimes it can be a bit like that.
Right.
But often there'll be just local businesses
Yeah.
doing something on there. There might, it's a good way for me to make sure I stay kind of relevant.
Yep.
Because there's no
See
newspaper here, right?
what's
It's all
going
on
on.
social media, and I
Yeah.
find that's a bit. I've got a love-hate relationship with the local rag. It doesn't
Yeah.
really exist anymore. The Courier Mail and the Sunshine Coast Daily sort of merged. They still got a Facebook page, but that's
there's
it.
nothing. There's no physical paper print
No,
anymore,
no.
though, right?
Oh, I think on a Saturday there's one that
They
comes
do,
out.
okay.
But we don't do any print media at the moment.
Yeah.
We've done a little bit with
What sort of thing?
there's a magazine called Hello Sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got Install Noosa,
Uh-huh.
Deb, Deb
Caruso, yeah.
Deb Caruso, and we've got a great relationship with Deb and her husband John.
Yep.
They've got a fantastic business. John's got a great podcast. But it was purely branding
Yep.
to get our brand out
Early
there.
on.
Early on.
Okay.
And it's a great magazine. It's positioned in all of the decent hotels on the Sunshine Coast. So, I find myself on my way, I'll flick through a magazine
Yeah.
if I'm laying on the couch or something. So I
Yeah.
see some relevance there.
Okay.
But all of our energy goes into social media.
Okay.
And we don't do a lot of paid stuff,
Yep.
if any. But
Like boosting?
yeah, so, depends. It needs
Right.
to. Yeah. So yes, but rarely.
Okay.
If we open something, we will.
Okay.
Because we try and open with a massive bang. So
Yeah,
we
sure.
start our social media 4 weeks out before an opening.
Okay. So coming back to that, and you said like pre-opening kind of stuff. So timing has a lot to do with it as well, right?
Yeah,
So
and there's a fight about it all the time
in what way? What way?
because our social media team,
Yeah.
they don't want to go too soon because it's hard to get content when you're not opened,
Yeah, it really is.
and it costs a lot of money. Like Boca, we filmed. Shout out to what's a pizza joint?
Good slice.
Good Slice, fucking good pizza.
Everyone's
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about it. I haven't had it yet. I just So Corey's, for those that can't hear, Corey's going, how the hell did I, he didn't say hell, but how the hell do I know that out of all the pizza restaurants on the Sunshine Coast? Mate, I can tell you right now that
There's
when
good
it comes to pizza, there's no such thing as bad pizza.
Yeah,
It's
mate.
just bad timing. But
they
yeah,
do a
I've
good
heard
job.
lots of things. I've never been. It's just around here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I've never been. But
It's in the most unassuming spot.
yeah, perfect.
Anyway, we went there hat in hand and said,
Can we use the venue?
Yeah, or can we buy a pizza off you and film it and pretend it's ours? And,
Yeah, nice.
and
Jeez.
we try and support those guys, and
Yeah.
they do a cracking job. So anyway, so we started filming and we did the launch video of Zasha on a Vespa.
Yeah,
and,
that's
right. We try and make a bit of, and Corey's got a lot to do with that. I mean,
Yeah.
he's really creative at how he launches the videos, which
Yeah.
is fun. The piggyback one started. Where did that start? Corey, you were drove down a drone, followed the road.
He's
down
probably
through
blocked.
piggyback.
He's probably blocked it out.
So-
Honestly missed opportunity if there wasn't a pig on someone's back. That's all I'm going to say.
It was all about piggybacking off the success of Rice Point
Right.
Mitigation. So,
Yeah.
we try and make it fun, and then it's you're firmly defining the restaurant's persona from 4 weeks out to the opening.
Yeah. Okay.
And then by the time it opens, I could tell you the name of the persona of every restaurant.
Yeah.
They've got this living person,
Yeah.
basically.
When it comes to traditional, why is it that you don't do too much? Is
Because I
it?
just think that it's a very shallow pool.
Yeah.
Like,
As in
I just said
readerships
to you, mate, like, you don't even know that there's 7 local news.
Yeah. I mean,
When was the last time you watched Free to Air? When was the last time you watched free to air?
Probably, actually, you know what? Probably would have been. I watched like a half a day of the Boxing Day test. That would have been it.
That's your new TV.
I got an actual TV,
Yeah, me too.
but I
you
don't watch
free to
TV on
air.
it. No,
That's what I mean.
I don't watch.
Yep. Yeah.
So Corey's saying he puts YouTube on his phone and then streams that to the TV, which is
Yep.
yeah. But it's like I don't know.
I just think it's a shallow pool, mate.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
all. And I
suppose that reference is for here, well, as in not this restaurant, but this area. Like
I believe it's
because
everywhere.
of there's. Oh right, okay.
I believe that you got to go where the people are, and the people are here.
Are on their phones. Yeah.
They're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, okay, if we're fishing where the fish are, digital, like you said team, like you've got people that do this for you, like full-time employees that are doing this. What's the...
And we pay a videographer an extreme amount of money.
And then Corey.
Extreme.
With, I suppose the thing is, one of the things that kind of comes to socials that I think a lot of people, they generally start with a bang.
Yep.
And then it drops off.
But we didn't have anybody at the start. Like I was 18 months into my Rice Boy journey. We'd opened Spiro. We had Rice Boy, had Spiro. And
was the internet around at that point in time? Or?
2017, if I But that was it.
Yeah.
I was literally posting videos
yeah.
and taking photos, and we wanted that raw, gritty.
Yeah.
And then I was just posting it. When I first started doing the social media for Rice Boy, I didn't know that you could link Instagram and Facebook, so I'd post on Instagram.
And then go over. Excellent.
So, and then somebody said, this is no shit. The very first person I hired to do our social media, I hired him for 3 days a week. And she goes, you've got 600 and something messages in Instagram. I'm like, you can send messages in Instagram? And they were all like, can I make a booking? I had we had to go back and apologise to these people.
So sorry, I'm a Luddite. I don't know what I'm doing.
Honestly. And then I tell my kids that, and they're like, Dad, you're so embarrassing.
Yeah.
But that's how we started. People that go, I can't afford a social media person, that's fucking horseshit. Get off your ass with your camera and take a photo.
I think the thing is as well, at the end of the day, the social media person needs one thing, which is content.
Yeah.
So it's like anyone can take a photo. It may not be great, sorry, Corey, but you know what I mean? Like anyone can take a photo.
Correct.
Which is better than no photo.
Yep. And now and Corey will attest to this, the new phones have got unbelievable cameras in it, but people aren't necessarily wanting to. And I've got my own opinion, right? And me and my social media manager, shout out to Ash, we argy-bargy all the time because I've got very, very strong views on how the food should be photographed.
Right.
And there's been times where it's very trendy to take the high shot of a whole table full of food.
The classic Gourmet Traveller front cover shot.
That.
No, shout out to Gourmet, loved it.
Yeah, but I hate that. I want to look at that dish, and I want to recognise the ingredients, and I want to nearly taste it.
It almost makes it two-dimensional as well, right? If you're shooting from above.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to say that, Corey? It can flatten it out, right? So it's like you lose any of that impact from any kind of height or textures and things that you can't see.
Our social media is designed to do two things, and two things only, and that is to educate or give information out, and to get an undecided diner off the couch. So if they sit down on their couch and they get home from work, they pull out their phone and they flick and they go, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah.
I need that. And the best bit about our fast casual restaurants is you don't need to, there's no bookings.
Yeah.
So you go, I'm going.
Bang, we're done.
We're out.
We're out.
And
see you at Rice Boy.
15 minutes later, they're sitting down having something to eat.
50 minutes later, they're in a line for 45 minutes.
Shut up, Pete.
Depending on the line, depending on the time of the day. Just pick your time, guys. That's the trip for Rice Boy.
Could be an hour and 45
Just pick the time.
But that's so all of my energy in around social media is it getting somebody off the couch, is undecided on what they want for dinner.
So I think the other thing, like from a classic marketing point of view, that people will ask is, what's the ROI? What's the return on investment? How do you measure that when it comes to social? Because you're just putting, it's the kind of, some people talk about, shooting a shotgun into the air. Like you might hit one person every now and then with a little pellet, but really it's pretty broad.
It is very broad, but you can always see that if we post a special that we've just got some live South Australian crayfish in, and we happen to sell 15 that night,
there might be a relation.
I don't believe in coincidences, but it's true. But you've got to stay relevant, right? Like I keep trying to tell a story with our social media. That's why we post every single day.
That was going to be on my next thing, is the continuity of those posts and how important it is to do that. I know Ash speaks about that all the time. Yep. It's about, and again, a lot of businesses sort of start and stop, and that can be sort of detrimental to that brand, and I think, just going back 1 second for that, shooting the shotgun into the air, some things you can measure, some things you can't, but there is branding. Yeah. That's sort of underlying and everything. And then if there's a specific target, then that becomes the marketing, right?
And make it fun.
Yeah.
Like
if it suits the venue.
Yeah, correct. I mean, but if you look at Red Bull's social media, you'll hardly ever find a can of Red Bull in their social media.
I don't think you see a can of Red Bull anywhere doing anything to do with Red Bull.
Yeah. All you do is watch an F1 car and go, if I drink that Red Bull, I'm going to drive a fucking F1 car.
I get into rabbit holes on things, and TikTok for me with like skiing, like guys going down mountains at like 8,000 kilometers an hour, clearly incredible skiers. It's just like, how are they not dying? And it's the Red Bull guys. It's just the stuff they do between that and mountain biking.
And then the snow falls away from underneath.
Yeah, and it's just like, what the hell? And it's incredible, some of the stuff they do. It's phenomenal. But I think the other thing is that people talk about sort of personalizing it. I know that, like, I think currently with TKRG, the banner group is that you're talking about the people.
Yep.
I think that's something that and you see people do it all the time, and it's just a really good way to personalize the business, because people they'll come here, they'll go to Boca, they'll see Luke. Yeah. They'll be like, who the fuck is that guy? Yeah. He's everywhere.
He's got a great story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's got great history. Yeah. He's done incredible things. And I think people want to know those things. And that's kind of made partly why we're doing what we do here, is that, telling some of those stories with people as well. And that's what social's good at.
We've Corey and I have spoken that if there's another restaurant this year, which hopefully there's going to be, that we're going to put a lot of work into from the second the lease is signed to the doors open, and a bit of a blow by blow. We could probably do a bit on the podcast with that, because I think that's entertaining. People, I don't know how many times, I know that I've done it, you do it all the time. You look at a restaurant the week before opening and go, you're fucking no chance.
Yeah. I did it 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, but you get to the habit of going, when all of the lumpy stuff is done, you know that the last bit is the easy bit.
Pretty,
and then once those doors open, then the hard bit starts again. Yeah. So
I think also there is that idea of people want to know how the sausage gets stuffed.
Yeah.
It's like that idea of, you like that saying? What?
I'm going to use that. I've never heard that before.
Have you?
No.
Yeah, it's like peeling back the curtain. It's how...
Let's move on.
What? Anyway, how sausage get stuffed.
Hey, Corey, can I have some water?
Yes, please. Me too. I think that there is that idea of people wanting to see behind the curtain. Yeah. Like, and it's the reason why kitchens are now open.
Yeah.
It's the reason why things like MasterChef, we've talked about this before, that voyeuristic element of, I didn't used to be able to see that. And people sitting up at the counter, like we've got it at Central, here, you guys do it. People love that stuff.
Or when they know that they can't do it themselves. Like I'm the least handy person you'll ever meet in your life, but I love watching those bush survival ones when they make little cabins in the bush. I'm like,
with like,
if I could do that,
a ball of twine and some snot, and all of a sudden it's like it's a 3-level house
with a fucking indoor fireplace.
Yeah.
I find that
they're impressive. I just wonder how real that stuff is. But that's the cynic in me. It's like someone says no one did that on purpose. But I think that comes into it, and I suppose like that kind of idea of like almost a documentary of the opening of people would find that compelling.
It's fun.
So absolutely. Yeah. Where are we at time wise? To go? Oh, cool. So when it comes to just following up on the building a brand thing, how, like, there are so many restaurants out there, there's so many brands out there. Is there I know the answer to this. There's not a 3-step program of how to build a brand in a restaurant, but what are some of those key fundamentals that you think are critical from a marketing point of view for getting the name out there? You know, if you've opened, you've done all the right things, you've got the good accountant, you've got the good lawyer, all these spreadsheets make sense, the chef's great, everyone's getting along, everyone's tired because you've just opened a restaurant, everything's working, socials are being posted. What do we do next?
Get all your key leaders around a table, or even just do it yourself and ask yourself a very, very important question, and that is, what do you want to be famous for?
What do you want to be famous for?
What do you want the restaurant to be famous for? And every single decision you make should be targeted at the answer to that question.
So are you talking about a specific dish or just anything?
We opened Rice. I'll go through mine, right?
Yeah.
Rice Boy, we wanted to be famous for curry and beer.
Nailed one of them.
What? You know,
That was
you
a
know
joke. That was a joke. Well, I've eaten my body weight in that curry, so we know which one I like.
Giddy Geisha, we wanted to be famous for dumplings and beer.
Yep.
Market Bistro wanted to be famous for a local neighbourhood bistro, like a grown-up restaurant. Like you have, if you go to a Parisian bistro or a bistro in New York City, you can sit down and you can have a steak frites.
Yep.
You have a good glass of wine.
Yep.
You do it on a Tuesday night.
Yep.
It's not going to cost you $300. If you want to spend $300, you can. So just all of those decisions, and again, it all starts shaping that persona of what that restaurant is.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I'm always, if somebody goes, why don't we put a cake cabinet in, and then in the afternoon we can serve coffee and cake? I go, we don't do, that's not what we want to be famous for.
Yeah.
I may have proven myself. That's why you're laughing.
No, I didn't. I had nothing to do with the cake cabinet. Yes, but I'm aware that there was a cake cabinet.
It was actually, designed for breakfast. We're having an office. We've got to cater for breakfast. And I knew, and I don't often break my own rules, but Luke was a business partner of mine. I wanted to make sure he had a voice, but I was so fucking right.
Yeah.
Only because I've just proven it. I've made all those mistakes before.
Yeah.
Just be fun. You can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah, it's impossible.
So if you firmly believe and you've done your research that your restaurant is this, then double down.
So I think that's the thing. It's like lean in. You got to give it a crack. We had recently an article in the AFR about some of the wines we're pouring at Central in Brisbane because they're from China, and there's like this big push of Chinese wines, and I was like, oh, is there? And the article sort of talked about a few restaurants in Australia that are doing it. It was us.
I didn't even know there was such a thing until you told me.
Yeah, so there was ourselves. There was the guys at Gimlet, and then there was. Oh, this is embarrassing. Another restaurant that they spoke to, Hellbound, in SA, Bar, Reggie, which actually shut this weekend, but moving on to a new site. And it was interesting that was sort of something that got attention.
Yeah.
But Central is an underground, dark, moody Chinese restaurant specifically focused on Hong Kong style of Cantonese food that Benny, our chef, remembers from when he was growing up.
Yep.
So it's a very clear brief on what the menu is.
Yep.
And that then flowed into the rest of the entire design of the building and the music. And
it's a very clear
list.
persona.
Absolutely.
And you know what you're going to be famous for.
And that's what we spoke about that. It was all about who are we? And, the clear identity of that restaurant was marked out from day one. And so we all just went, well, and you've said it before, that idea of point the battleship towards that. We did.
I bet your cutlery, your crockery, your stemware, everything is directed at that.
Yeah, and as I said, it's even things like the music. The music is a playlist that was designed by a DJ using disco hits from the 70s in Mandarin and China, and it's just like, what the hell are we talking about? But it's just like, how did you find that first?
And that's cool as
But that's
fuck.
what's playing in the background.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I was there last week, and it was the first time I sort of listened to it and realized what was actually being played. It's like, that is hilarious.
But then you got people that will walk in there and go, this is the coolest restaurant I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen by accident.
No.
It happens because that amount of energy and effort's gone into that.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like the guy I was with last week. He was like, even the curtains.
Yep.
He's like, I thought I would hate them, and now they just make sense. I was like, yeah, it's like anything in situ, it makes sense. You take those curtains off, put them on a rack and go, do you want those in your restaurant? The answer's going to be hell no.
No.
but you put them in this restaurant, it's like, oh, that makes sense. So I think that's a really good point.
Yep.
That whatever it is, lean into it
Yep.
and go with it. And also that idea of getting everyone around a table and making sure that all those key personnel, stakeholders, whatever you want to call them, are in.
Yep.
You can't be half in.
No.
It's like, let's do it properly. And that can be done at all levels as well. Like, that doesn't have to be somewhere like here where, you know, there's a whole lot of wine. I'm looking at this ridiculous white wall of wine behind you that is impressive to look at. But
Dude, you can do it in a cafe.
I was going to say, you can do it in a
Espresso
20
bar.
seat, anything. Just,
Remember that Benny's Espresso down in New Farm?
oh,
Is it Benny's?
no. Jamie's.
Oh my God. That is a perfect
Jamie
example.
Bellis, yeah.
We sell
I had my
these-
wedding photos there.
four coffees.
Yeah.
If you went there and asked for a fucking chai latte, it'd stab you.
Bye-bye. Yeah,
Yep.
see you later. It's like that, what was that place in, oh gosh, in the Gabba? Oh, what was it called? Opposite Anateca. And they only did black coffee. And people would flip tables. They were losing their shit. They're like, we don't have the space. We just can't do it well, so we're not going to do it.
The original burger joint in the Meridian Hotel in New York City, this beautiful 5-star property, $1,300 rack room rate. You walk into the foyer, go behind the concierge's counter, walk down a very small laneway, and there's literally a little neon light down there, and all of the menus written on a torn cardboard box sitting above. There'd be 200 people in the line.
Yeah.
50 people could sit in there. On big letters above the menu says, if you're not ready to order when you get to the counter, you'll be asked to go to the back of the line.
Yeah.
There's literally 5 burgers.
Do you think, though, like that kind of thing, and I've spoken about this before, about like Paul Greco with Terroir in New York, you can get away with things in a place like that because of population. You know, you can find a niche and there's going to be 20,000 people in that niche.
It certainly helps, but
Yeah.
what the thing that I took away when I went there was, unashamedly, they sell burger, chips, and Coca-Cola. The end. If you want a beer, they sell Budweiser. That is it. But that's
There's a lot to like about that, though.
And the burger is delicious, but it's nothing special. It's just a burger.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I also think there is that. I think I've had this conversation really recently about people thinking they want to do this, like they want to go high, and it's all about, you know, whether that's just in terms of quality or whatever. And the market might be a lot lower than that. And so it's like, if you can sort of find somewhere in between that actually makes sense to what you're doing,
And can you
it's
back it up?
closer to what the market is sort of looking for, and then backing up with everything you possibly
Because-
do.
You know, you've got to. You can charge whatever you like.
Yeah.
If people do pay it, and it is at that pointy end, your margin for error is all but zero.
Yeah.
Because people in this day and age are highly educated around food and booze. People generally eat out a lot. We see some people in Market Bistro here 3 times a week. You know what I mean? So if you charge $80 for a steak, it want to be fucking good.
Mind you, we did just have a steak, and I'd come back 3 times a week for someone to cook me that steak.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you asked for a medium rare and it was on the medium side of medium rare and it was
Yeah.
a little bit overcooked, you paid $100 for it, you'd have something to say
Different
about it.
conversation.
But if it was the average price of every other half decent steakhouse, you've got a little bit of room for
Yeah.
a bit of, but it's if you charge that premium top end,
Yeah, you
then
gotta
everything
nail it.
from the chairs to the cutlery to the crockery to the restaurant manager to the som to the there's fucking a lot of pressure.
Yeah, there is. One question I wanted to ask, going back to traditional marketing for 1 second,
Yep.
we're going to wrap this up, is call to action. Would you ever do something like that, a call to action with either a discount offer or
No.
a buy one, or why?
Okay, I don't believe in discount marketing because I think it's a race to the bottom. That's just my 2 cents worth. We do specials like the Black Friday sales in the
Yep.
bottle shop.
Yep.
We do that. We use that specifically to move some stock out.
Retail's different, right? And
Definitely
they're
different.
hugely different to restaurants. So
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if we did 2 for 1 Tuesdays, why would you go for dinner on Monday?
Yeah.
You know, like I just don't get that.
And then I suppose then the other thing is if you're doing like, Schnitty Tuesdays or, Rissole Wednesdays, then you're just turning into the RSL. But
Yeah.
it works.
Or that's not I don't think that's discount marketing. It's just
No.
telling people what you're famous
What
for
you're
on
doing.
Tuesday.
Exactly
You know?
right. Like on a Tuesday, we're going to do this.
And I don't have any issue with that.
Yeah.
It's just, or use it to sell your specials. We've got these beautiful live crayfishes. We've got them for the weekend. Come on in.
Yeah.
We've got 50 of them, but when the 50's done, we're done.
Yeah. FOMO.
I think that's you're just letting everybody know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's important.
And that's what marketing is. Letting everyone know what you're
Every
doing.
day.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Every day is very hard.
But there's no reason why I can't take 30 photos with my camera in this restaurant now. And
Yeah.
I've got content for the whole week.
Yeah.
But that takes energy, effort, and time.
Yeah. Which are
Just
all very important.
prioritize it because it's important.
Well, it's critical. I mean,
Yep.
that's the thing. You see that with everything. So, all right. That's it. I'm going to wrap that up.
Well done, Pete.
We'll do it all
That was
again another time soon.
I can't wait.